Welcome to the Freelance Writing Podcast, hosted by Melanie Green. In this space, we'll discuss freelance writing and all of the challenges that comes with running this type of business. In this episode, we're going to talk about the different ways of freelance writing. One of the most interesting things about being a freelance writer is you could decide today that you are one and you're a freelance writer. There's not really a gatekeeper that's going to keep you out of the industry. But what I will tell you is there's a lot of different ways to become a freelance writer. And we're going to really talk about those ways here today in this episode. First, we're really going to talk about a way that I think is the most profitable on a per article basis. It's not necessarily what I do, but it certainly is a popular option. I have a lot of freelance writing friends that do this as all or part of their strategy. So the first thing I would say is to write off one article at a time. So these individual writers typically will pitch an idea to an editor, usually a print publication, and they may get paid a few $100s for one article, maybe even more if they include their own photos. So they pitch the one article at a time. They will get compensated $1 even a word, and then they will wait an invoice for that one article, and then they will get paid usually by check. And then they will keep pitching multiple magazines this way. For me, this has never really been a great strategy because I really like to build long-term partnerships and I don't like the pitching process. So for me, this has not been my go-to method. Even if I only end up making 15 to 20 cents a word versus $2 a word, I typically prefer not to do one-off pitching. But it definitely is a lucrative way of being able to be a freelance writer. The other thing that has been extremely good for me personally is to partner with agencies. And I would say this is a good portion of the work that I do. I work with a lot of marketing agencies, writing agencies, SEO agencies, website development agencies. And so as they need content, they will hire me on a very regular basis, at that 10 to 20 cents a word mark or hourly to create the content that they need for their clients. So it's not as much money if I went out to reach them directly, but I find it's a lot less customer service because I'm only working with one client. Typically, they like my work and have very few revisions. So for me, it's a very efficient way of just getting a lot of writing projects at once. Another strategy for maintaining clients and retaining them and having long-term relationships with them is really to work directly with clients. So in most cases, I work with larger kind of Fortune 500 companies. These are names that you probably recognize, large personal injury firms that have really a large national presence. These kind of companies have a huge amount of content that they need produced on a monthly basis. So by really partnering with them, they'll send over 10 or 50 assignments at once, and I'm able to turn those around, and we just have an ongoing relationship like that. I find that you really have to pitch these clients, have pretty strong portfolios, links that they can see. Sometimes be referred is a good option. And so as you continue to build your freelance writing career, you'll really have an opportunity to try to connect with these types of clients. I will say that some of them are my favorite companies. And so it's really great to be able to write about their products because these are things that I purchase. And so I would say this is one of my favorite ways to be a freelance writer. The other thing I will say is that when it comes to corporate clients, a lot of times they'll work with each other. So you'll work with one law firm that's a national law firm, let's say, and then you kind of get referred to another one. So they're a little bit almost incestuous like that. They all know each other, and so it's really great that way. Another way that you can become a freelance writer is to write on freelance writing platforms. So we'll talk about this more in depth in a future episode. But what I will say now is platforms like Upwork and Fiverr can be great ways to supplement your income. We'll talk more about not racing to the bottom of the pricing pool, right? You don't want to compete with someone offering 1 cent word books, let's say. But they could be a great way to supplement these other strategies. But a lot of those platforms have now gigs or projects that you can offer a set thing that people can order. And I have found that to be a very positive thing for me, that I'm not actively going out and recruiting lots of clients, that a lot of times they're able to come to me through those platforms. So I'm pretty grateful. I hesitate to add this last way of being a freelance writer here in the podcast because I don't want people necessarily to pursue this. If you're an aspiring freelance writer, maybe this is what you don't do. So there are opportunities that will pay you based on clicks. There are content mills that will pay you, a half a penny a word, a penny a word, 5 cents a word even. And although content mills are not nearly as popular now as they were, say 10 years ago, I would really highly encourage you not to do that. And the reason is you really can't make a sustainable living. So all of the people that I know that became a quote unquote freelance writer on the basis of these low paying projects, these content mill, these click for payment types websites, they don't stick with it because they can't afford to, right? You can't live on even a normal income now with things being so expensive. Being a freelancer, it's very unsteady. Like, you don't know when you're going to get paid. And so getting paid, 3 cents an article or a cent a click or something, it's just not really profitable. And in my experience, those are the clients that are least likely to actually even pay you. There's a number of clients that haven't paid me even for flat rate projects that we agreed upon. And so I feel like these other opportunities are really ripe for scams. Thanks for spending some time with me discussing freelance writing. If you'd like to connect with me further, please feel free to reach me at my website at www.melaniegreen.info.